Okay, we're about to dive into some statistics that, on the surface, seem pretty straightforward. But what if the most obvious conclusion is actually the wrong one? With a topic this sensitive, understanding what the numbers don't say is absolutely everything.
So let's just start with a number, 90. That's it. No context, no labels, just 90. What in the world could that possibly represent? Well, that 90, it's the number of reported rapes for every 100,000 people in Sweden. Now, that's one of the highest rates on the planet. And when you see a number like that, your gut reaction is probably pretty strong, right? I know mine was.
But this is where we have to pause and ask a really critical question. Does a high number of reports automatically mean a more dangerous society? Is the story really that simple? Well, it turns out the answer is not even close.
To really get why, we need to zoom in and focus on one single, incredibly powerful word. It is, by far, the most important word in all of this data, reported.
And here is the absolute key distinction. The reported rate doesn't count how many crimes actually happen. Nope, it only counts how many are officially recorded by the police. And believe me, those two things can be worlds apart.
I mean, think about it for a second. What does it actually take for a victim to come forward? That decision is shaped by everything, from culture to the law, to your trust in the justice system, and the fear of what might happen next. So the key isn't just the number itself, it's what that number tells us about the society that produced it.
Now, to really see this in action, look at this contrast. You've got Sweden way up here at 90, and then all the way on the other end of the spectrum, you have Saudi Arabia with a reported rate of just 0.09. The gap between those two numbers is just staggering.
So let's flip our original question around. Looking at these two extremes, which number do you think might point to a society where a victim is actually more likely to come forward, feel supported, and believe they'll be heard?
So, what could a high number like Sweden's really be telling us? Let's try and deconstruct this data a bit.
You see, a high reported rate might not just mean more crime. It could mean there's higher trust in the police. It might reflect broader legal definitions of what even counts as a crime. It could also point to stronger social support for victims, less cultural stigma, or even successful public awareness campaigns that empower people to speak out. We see similarly high rates in places like the UK and Norway, which really suggests these factors are powerful.
Okay, so that's one side of it. But now, let's flip the coin. What about the silence of those really low numbers? What could that data be hiding?
An extremely low rate, like Japan's at 1.1 or Saudi Arabia's at 0.09, could be hiding a much more troubling reality. It might actually point to a deep cultural stigma that blames victims, or a profound distrust in the legal system. It could mean victims are terrified of the social consequences, or that there are simply no safe, accessible ways to even make a report in the first place.
So, with this new way of thinking, let's put it to the test. How does it change the way we see the full picture when we look at more data?
So here's a wider spectrum. You've got Sweden way at the top, the USA is in that upper range, then you have Brazil and Germany kind of in the middle, and then Russia, Japan, and Saudi Arabia are down at the very bottom. Now, instead of looking at this as a simple ranking from worst to best, we can see this incredible landscape of questions about the social fabric of each country.
So, if there is one thing, just one thing, you take away from all of this, let it be this. A high number is not automatically bad, and a low number is most certainly not automatically good. The reality is always more complex.
When you get right down to it, these numbers are like a mirror. They don't just reflect the crime itself, they reflect a society's entire response to it, its willingness to see it, to acknowledge it, and to build a system where victims actually feel safe enough to speak out. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you see a statistic like this, just pause and ask yourself, what are we truly measuring here? Are we measuring the size of the problem, or are we measuring a society's courage to finally confront it?